Have you ever noticed that all too often workplace professionals are assigned to development projects as subject matter experts, or SMEs, who are not the best fit for the task? Have you noticed that SMEs don't always contribute so effectively to design efforts? If so, you've also noticed how that results in frustration, lack of productive project solutions, lost revenues, and project overruns in budget dollars and/or time. Research shows you're not alone in these experiences. And if you have experienced these troubles in a design project, you'll be excited to know this learning product will address, based on research, the following issues. What can be done to increase the awareness of, appreciation for, and emulation of effective SME behaviors? And how can SMEs be trained in these crucial effective behaviors and attitudes? While most training experiences include an examination at the end of the learning experience, who can be certain how much of the new knowledge from the training will actually transfer to the workplace, and how much of that transferred knowledge can become actual, tangible, positive results? It is these challenging concerns that make this e-learning solution so exciting. The first part of this module will present both the effective and the ineffective behaviors commonly attributed to SMEs. The remainder of the module will present an immersive learning experience composed of real-world simulation exercises. In these simulations, learners are put in the role of SMEs and challenged to behave in the most effective manner possible in each situation with simulated design team members. This provides learners the opportunity to immediately utilize their new knowledge in simulated settings, interacting effectively and productively with the simulated design team just like they would be doing in an actual project back on the job. Instead of the usual question and answer test at the end of the training, learners gain experience from these simulations that will ultimately increase transfer of their new knowledge and skill into their performance as actual project SMEs. By performing this series of role-playing simulations created from the real-life experiences, both good and bad, that instructional designers have had working with SMEs, learners gain both knowledge and practice and see the consequential results of their behaviors. This combination of presentation of effective SME behaviors followed by simulation and practice using them will season learners to perform both effectively and with confidence as subject matter experts back on the job. And these simulations also serve as the course examination, shortening the training time as well as increasing its effectiveness. Thus, this learning product is not only more effective, it's also more efficient. During these simulations, learners will be acting as SMEs and presented with a field of possible behaviors in response to various situations. Learners are asked to select the most effective course of action to pursue, utilizing those behaviors that had earlier in the module been identified as contributing effectively to project goals. Each of these possible answers, unbeknown to the learner, will be designated either an effective, mediocre, or ineffective response, and each will result in a real-world consequence appropriate to their selection. For example, the results of choosing an effective behavior might be a voicemail from actual end users of the learning product for which the SME has given input, praising the courseware that was designed as being a very effective and engaging training product. After seeing this positive result, the learner is then allowed to progress on to the next scenario. Conversely, an ineffective behavior choice might result in the project falling behind schedule and the course champion visiting the SME in person to voice his displeasure about that. To provide immediate feedback and correction for incorrect behaviors, mediocre and ineffective behavior choices result in less than positive outcomes. After the results stage, then the learner is redirected to brief retraining on effective behaviors before being allowed to redo the same or a similar scenario for another attempt at choosing to respond to the situation in a more effective manner. If the learner chooses ineffective behavior options on too many critical simulations, it is apparent the learner does not know how to satisfactorily apply the principles that's been presented in the learning. Therefore, the learning product will redirect the learner back to the beginning of the academic portion of the learning to begin anew. During testing, several design factors were further refined to save learner time, reduce cognitive overload, and increase engagement. The effective and ineffective responses were determined to immediately result in either a good or bad consequence. Additionally, actual phraseology of responses were streamlined, reworded for clarity and brevity, and also scenarios were revised to remove those simulations with clear-cut, more obvious choices. To summarize, this exciting learning product combines both a presentation portion followed by an immersive learning simulation experience, giving the learner SME knowledge, practice, and consequential results from that practice. And it's the experience of these simulations that will ultimately empower them and season them, increasing the transfer of this new knowledge and skill into their performance as actual project SMEs.